Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another iTWire video. Today I have with me Steve Goh. He is the Vice President and General Manager of Sales for the Asia Pacific and the Emerging Markets region at Acronis. Welcome to the program, Steve.
Thank you.
So I thought I'd start off by asking you to give us a little bit of your history in the industry.
Sure. Well, I've just joined Acronis for 4 months. Prior to that, I was with Microsoft for 13 years, and then I've been in the storage industry with EMC and then HP prior to that. So that's pretty much my background, and I'm really excited to come to Acronis because of what it can give to our end users and our customers and our partners.
Sure. Now, you've been here for the past 4 months, so you would have seen the end of 2015 and the beginning of 2016. Can you give us a bit of a wrap of how things went for Acronis last year?
Sure. 2015 was a very exciting year for us. It was a year of change. It was a year of streamlining. Actual fact, when I came in Q4, it was our best quarter ever for Australia.
Right.
In terms of growth on revenue and beachhead wins with key accounts. In Asia Pacific, it's also the same thing. We grew at double digits, both in APAC as well as in emerging markets. So I would say it was a great year, and Q4 was a good year whereby everybody all stood together and ensuring that we have a very strong finish.
Excellent. Now, obviously you'll have things you're going to launch at different times this year, so obviously you can't tell us everything, but what are some of the plans that you have for 2016?
Right. Well, from a product standpoint, as you're very aware, there's always been this concept of leapfrogging, right? Today you are best in technology and in fits and speeds. Tomorrow, you could be second in class. In terms of technology, Acronis has always prided ourselves as being not a product company, but a technology company, right? We pride ourselves in understanding what customers want and how can we address all the challenges. So in 2016, you'll see that we are continuing our focus and growth in the cloud space, right? And also understanding that not all customers will go cloud from day one.
Sure.
Right, we'll continue to support them with their on-premise requirements, right?
All their hybrid requirements.
Absolutely.
Whatever it is, really, isn't it?
Absolutely, right.
Yeah.
So in a hybrid space, customer says, look, right, I still want control over my own data center, but I have to go to cloud to lower my total cost of ownership.
Sure, and to have redundancy and all the rest.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Acronis pride ourselves in our technology, in our newer versions that's coming out, that allows the customer to seamlessly manage this, both on-premise and cloud, across multi-platform, across different virtual environments and on-premise environments, across all applications, right? So that the customer can actually find it easy to manage without having to pay huge investments.
Sure.
So that's where we are moving towards in 2016 from a product standpoint.
And I mean, there was a big push last year with the channel. And so, what is the go-to market strategy for Australia and the Asia Pacific region this year?
That's a great question. My background has always been channels. My belief is always in being people.
Yep.
Right. The key thing that we want to do this year was to make sure that we streamline down on the number of partners that we have. It's not about numbers or quantity, it's about quality of partners.
Sure.
Right, and with partners, we want to make sure that we understand the customer base, the customer's requirements, and their resellers' strengths and focus. We want to make sure that with a very lean and effective sales organization, we want to pass the earnings to our customers through our distributors, through our resellers. We want to make it affordable for customers to have the best way to protect and manage their data, right? And we want to make sure that resellers actually be profitable, right? But more importantly, resellers are able to maintain the customer satisfaction.
Sure, yeah, well, that's the most important thing. Happy channel partners and happy customers.
Got it.
It's like happy wife, happy life, isn't it?
Yes, I agree.
So, I know that cloud is the big thing. I mean, last year Acronis had unlimited cloud for the True Image 2016 for consumers, and your consumer offerings are obviously very important. But what else are you going to be doing in the SMB space to work with all of these cloud partners and all these SMB customers that have a lot of choices out there?
Right, that's a great question. In fact, I was just having lunch with one of the publisher, right, and he was asking me, he said, Steve, in simple terms, tell me about backup. Backup is something that everybody believes and understand what it is.
They're all an expert after their systems have crashed and they had no backup.
Right.
Suddenly they're an expert in backup.
Exactly. And even then, but what's interesting is the following. They'll say, hey, with all these options and choice that we have in terms of putting things onto the cloud, they don't realize that it's not backup. It's just putting information and data onto one specific point.
Mm-hmm.
But what is important about a backup strategy is how can we actually put something there securely, right? Not only secured when it's at its rest point, but securely transmitting the information.
Sure.
Right? That's very, very important. Acronis has that security level. What's also important is the fact that after you back up, what happens if you want to restore? Right? And an analogy which I want to share with all my listeners and viewers, right, is this. Imagine you have a wine collection and you store it in a warehouse somewhere. Now imagine that you have one bottle of 1986 Petrus.
Yep.
And you want it to be drunk during your anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And you realize it only one day before your anniversary. Now when you go to the warehouse with 2,000 of your bottles of wine, how are you going to actually know where is the Petrus?
Well, there was no RFID tags in 1986. Maybe there was for industry, but not for consumers.
Right, exactly. So basically you're saying I'm storing information offline, outside there. But when you try to retrieve it, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Backup is not just about storing. Backup is about recovering.
It's about the quality of restoration, the speed that you can do it with,
Absolutely.
reliability. Everyone's probably either themselves or they've heard of a friend who backed up to an external drive, time for restoration, and the thing hasn't been backing up for 6 months or some other nightmare happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for our consumer space, I think we are just touching the tip of the iceberg. Acronis believes that with our solution, with the unlimited backup to Acronis Cloud, in Australia we have our data center here.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Very
Because
important for Australians to know that too.
It's a big market for us, right? It's a
And
very
much quicker
key market.
quicker data transfer. You're not transferring it to America or.
You got it.
Yeah.
And data sovereignty is very important for SMB customers as well.
Sure.
Right, so the consumer space, we believe that we can offer this because everybody's definition of critical data varies. For me, the pictures of my wife and my son is important.
Sure.
For my father-in-law, the picture of his grandchild is important.
Mm-hmm.
But for CEO, the documents of a contract is important.
Yeah.
But as a consumer, we don't realize the amount of information that we're generating that we actually feel that it's important that we will feel painful if we lost it. Acronis believes with True Image, we want to reach out to our consumers with your help, right, by educating our viewers that we have something for them, right? And it's not going to be costly, it's not going to be difficult to implement, it's not going to be difficult to manage.
Or limited in some way.
Exactly. So that's in the consumer space.
Yeah. And in the SMB space?
In the SMB space, we have also working through service providers, and you'll see announcements of how we are actually signing up cloud distributors, right? And these are all very major players in the cloud space who understands how they work through hosts and service providers. Because SMBs, the most important thing is about being able to survive in this space. It's not just how much revenue you can drive, but how can you lower your cost of ownership, right? And that's where cloud and hosting is getting stronger and bigger, especially in Australia, right? So with cloud distributors, we are able to work through them to offer cloud offerings through service providers who will then offer it to the end users. It's very similar in terms of making sure that we protect the integrity of the data. We help SMBs to make sure that they can access the data when required, and during, like what you said, the times of disaster, they do not panic. The business can come up online as soon as possible because, as we coin the term, time is money. Right? The longer they remain down, the more money they will lose. So with Acronis, we want to be able to help end users, consumers, to protect what they deem as data that is very dear to them. We want to make sure that SMBs continue to function in times of disaster. And disasters do happen.
And I was going to say, in that regard, it's not just hard disks that crash or theft or fire or whatever. Nowadays, we also have ransomware, which affects consumers and businesses alike.
You're right.
And to have an online backup and multiple versions of online backup, you can have a backup that's far enough back in time that is not affected by the ransomware, and you can restore safely.
Yes.
And save a lot of
That's a good point.
Yes. So now, I imagine the answer to this question, you've sort of explained it in many of the things you've already said, but I mean, traditionally, Acronis has been backup. People would have thought of backup. But it's, of course, from what you've been saying, it's grown to encompass a lot more than just backup today. So what's your description of Acronis in 2016, and what's the culture of Acronis in the Asia Pacific space?
Right. The one thing which, when I came to the company, but before I even come, I was reading about Acronis and the potential that this company can offer to the industry. Mm-hmm. It's not just about backup. It's about data management. All right. It's about data integrity, and we have many other solutions in the cloud space and the on-premise space that also securely helps customer access and share information. Right. And I'll be more than happy.
Which is about workflow.
Absolutely.
It's not just about storing data, but managing it.
Managing it, accessing, right?
And sharing it with
exactly
customers and suppliers and everybody else.
Right. And the one thing which customers keep on telling me is this: look, I like and appreciate what you're doing because you make it easy for me to manage and access and view how my data is being protected. So that's one. The question on culture, I'm a strong believer of partnership. And I was just sharing with you, I want to do more with less partners. I want to make sure the partners are profitable. Mm-hmm. And the most important asset to me in any company, or at least in my view, is people, right? Mm-hmm. If you have happy people that you recognize their potential, you develop them, you motivate them correctly, right? In a very happy working environment, anything can be overcome, right? So the one thing that I really would pride myself in being able to achieve in Acronis is to build a culture whereby people work hard, people celebrate success together, right? Teamwork is very important. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of culture-wise.
Very good. Now, one of the things I always like to ask the people I'm interviewing is to just look into the mystical crystal ball and tell us how you think the industry might evolve over the next 5 to 10 years.
Right. I think, personally, data is everything. Yeah. And data will always be growing in exponential figures.
Sure. That's what's happening now.
Absolutely. And by talking to customers, right, they say, well, Steve, I got to lower my investments, my costs. Customers would maybe hold back on refreshing of hardware. Customers will maybe hold back on projects whereby they need to invest in new workflows. But customer has to invest in protecting information and data. Right? With the exponential growth of data, companies that actually can help customers address this I won't say pain point, but this area of concern will be very instrumental, right, to customer success. Right? And if you can see, right, there are a lot of players, a lot of vendors, a lot of solution providers in this space. And in Australia, if I'm not wrong, I believe there's about at least in excess of 1,600 service providers. These service providers actually understand what is required for the end users. What Acronis is going to do, or what a vendor like Acronis can do for them, is extending their average revenue per user so that they can give to the users more options of what they can do to lower the cost of ownership.
And that also helps those service providers to keep those customers and not defect to somebody else.
Yeah.
But I mean, also there probably going to be things like unbelievable advances in flash. I mean, the Holy Grail of incredible compression that compresses things to tiny sizes we can't imagine, and yet it can decompress them in the blink of an eye.
Right.
And I mean, it's an exciting time to be alive. It's not just the exponential growth in data, but exponential growth in capability of technology.
Right, and how we can access those information. I mean, who would have imagined that today people are walking around with smartphones, accessing data, watching movies 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I can remember dreaming about that sort of thing and thinking it would be a long time.
Yes.
And 10 years later, here we are.
Yes, exactly.
Now, just a couple more questions. I always like to ask the people I'm interviewing if they could please share with the audience the best piece of advice or a great piece of advice they've received over the years to help them, or in this case you, get you where you are today.
I guess never stop learning. For me, my mantra is this: just be very sincere with what you want to do, be very focused on what you want to do and you want to achieve, and be very honest about it, right? And whether you are in a managerial position or you are in an individual contributor position, passion is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Right? You got to wake up passionate about what you do, and you do a great job. And there will be nothing big or small that will cause you to be stressed out, right? And you'll be able to give your best performance.
Sure. And it's genuine. People can see it. People know
Exactly.
when you're genuinely passionate. So do you have any final messages for iTWire viewers and readers and for your current and future Acronis customers?
Well, I think that's a great question, and I'm pausing because I want to be very crystal clear on this.
Sure.
Right? Backup is important. The one message I want to share with all our viewers is with Acronis, through our partners, we want to be able to understand how we can help you to address your challenges, big or small, right? You will see a lot of exciting announcements about how we're going to market in both the consumer space and the SMB space. It's not about rip and replace. It's about making sure that we help complement, right, in key areas whereby we can be of value add to you, our users. And there's one thing, never forget to backup. Backup is important. Storage is not just about, data management is not just about backup, it's about able to access it securely. Security is also very, very important. So yes, there's a couple of points there, but in summary, really, I'm looking forward to working with all our viewers as a customer. Some of you could be our partners. I'm really welcome to have a chance to meet with you and to further bring forth our discussions.
Sure. Well, Steve, good luck in the new role, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.